Now to that report of unrest in Sudan over the cost of living and the regime of President Omar al-Bashir. Here's our Africa editor, Ferguki.
Mourning and defiant. This is the people's answer to a regime which can still inflict death, but whose capacity to impose a blanket of fear is being challenged as never before. Here, a police car is overturned. Symbol of a state accused of brutal torture and killings.
He was returning from prayers at the mosque nearby. As he approached the house, a policeman rushed at him. Moya resisted, but the policeman shot him through the door.
The worst of the violence was here in the Khartoum neighbourhood of Buri. Here, sharing vinegar used to try and deal with the after effects of tear gas. Shots echoing across the streets. Here, one of the savage beatings meted out during house raids. And this, the tragic moment when security forces opened fire on a stone-throwing crowd. A young protester was killed. Dr. Babkir Abdelhamid here undergoing emergency treatment. He was allegedly shot after pleading with police to stop firing outside a house where he was treating the wounded.
He started explaining that he's a medical doctor. The response he got was simply, "You are a medical doctor. Well, we are looking for you." And they took 2 steps back and they just shot him and then went away.
Dr. Abdelhamid died of his wounds. The protest began in the city of Atbara last December when the price of bread was tripled. On the following days they spread to the capital Khartoum. Now there are reports of fresh unrest in several cities, and last night's scenes outside this hospital in Buri were the most defiant yet. Omar al-Bashir came to power in a military coup in 1989. It was the brutality of his crackdown in Darfur, part of which we documented in 2005, that made him notorious, and prompted a charge of genocide by the International Criminal Court. We filmed President Bashir recently when he visited the reformist Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed. 11 days later, driven by economic despair, the people rose up.
It is probably the end game for President Bashir. How long he will stay in office, whether it's a week or a year, is almost irrelevant. His regime, as far as the protesters in the street, has lost all credibility.
Hated by many of his own people, wanted for genocide, President Bashir has everything to lose if he falls. He must surely worry now that despite his crackdown, resistance seems only to be growing. Fergal Keane, BBC News.